We end tonight with two stories about life in rural America. Congress failed to pass a farm bill ahead of the midterm elections. One potential casualty, a Department of Agriculture program helping war veterans transition to farming. Mike Saray reports.
Growing up, my grandpa was a farmer in Mexico. My dad worked for a farmer as a tractor operator, and when I was 12 years old, I started working with my mom in the fields.
Former Army Airborne Sergeant Alejandro Juarregui's farming ambitions were sidetracked by this IED explosion in Afghanistan on his fourth combat tour of duty.
As a result, lost both my legs, 2 fingertips, took some shrapnel wounds to my right forearm, lost my hearing on my right side, and here I am now.
Unable to do traditional farming, he started a bee pollination business in his hometown of Woodland, California, with the help of nonprofit veterans groups. A small grant from the Farmer Veteran Coalition helped him with his beehives. The rest he's done on his own, using his disability insurance and no other government assistance.
Whenever I started looking into all this stuff about farming and I started looking into programs that can potentially help me out, I didn't find any.
Nor could Mike O'Gorman, a career farmer looking for a veterans group assisting new farmers. So he started one, the Farmer Veteran Coalition, after reading a study on war casualties since 9/11.
It showed for the first time the disproportionate number of those that were killed in action in Iraq and Afghanistan, that the all-volunteer post 9/11 military was disproportionately coming from our most rural communities.
Recent veterans going into farming are the real one-percenters, the less than 1% of Americans who are serving in the military or the less than 1% of Americans who are still working in agriculture. That's the lowest rates for both in the country's history. And as such, their needs connect with several national interests. Bill Ashton, a retired naval officer, is now the program director for the USDA's new military and veterans agriculture outreach. His mission? Fill the shrinking ranks of older American farmers who have been aging out of agriculture by recruiting younger veterans.
The recent survey that we have here at USDA has the average age of a farmer being 58 years old. And about a quarter of all veterans came from and are living in rural America.
I'd hardly even seen a cow before I invested in them, and it's kind of been a learning experience since day one.
Former Army Ranger Joshua Eilers started Ranger Cattle near Austin, Texas, with help from his local USDA representative, Ruben Hernandez.
Some talked about farm loan where he's able to qualify for low financial loans.
Since traditional farm credit programs are designed more for existing and larger farm operations, the Farmer Veteran Coalition is helping the USDA develop smaller microloans with reduced experience requirements for veterans more likely to be starting less traditional ag businesses.
We started real small, and we crowdsourced our startup money. We put a GoFundMe page on the internet. We went on Facebook and basically begged our friends and relatives for money, and people came through.
Marine veteran Cal Zamora and his wife Aubrietta started their flower business on land leased from a local incubator farm after receiving a work-study scholarship.
Cal and I both were participants in the Center for Land-Based Learning's California Farm Academy, and that program gives us access to land at a highly subsidized rate.
It was 100 degrees today, but I guess you've seen worse?
I have. When we were in Iraq, we'd go outside, we'd watch the temperature come down to 115, and that was a good day.
Several veterans groups have developed their own ag training programs, like this hydroponic farm school near Camp Pendleton, California, called Archie's Acres. It was started by former Marine Colin Archiplay and his wife Karen after his last deployment to Iraq to help other vets make the transition to farming smoother than their own.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. This job is difficult. There's risk involved. There's long days.
A 6-week intensive course the Archiplays run with Cal Poly Pomona University is the subject of the documentary The Farm. It's part hydroponic farming boot camp.
Identify the 5 different media.
And part The Apprentice Meets Shark Tank for aspiring veteran farmers who present their business plans at the end of the course.
For problem solvers, like war fighters off the battlefield, who evaluate the battle space and then imagine how to deal with those threats. It's kind of the same thing we're trying to tap into when it looks at agriculture. There's a ton of challenges.
Matt Smiley, an Army medic in Iraq turned farm manager, was drawn to agriculture by its therapeutic benefits for veterans, documented by a recent VA study of veterans suffering from the effects of PTSD.
Coming back here and being able to teach veterans how to farm and, you know, find something that's similar to what they've done can maybe give them some peace.
Keeping to the military tradition of taking care of their own, veteran farmers are collectively branding their products under the Homegrown by Heroes label to promote their new careers in agriculture.
After I got hurt, I have two choices. I can either sit and whine and cry about my situation, or I can accept the cards I've been dealt with and try to make a full house out of it, you know.
For the PBS NewsHour, Mike Saray reporting from Northern California.